Yay! Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, Kate. I am so excited to have you on the client results cleanup. If you are watching this for the first time, my name is Ashley. I'm an Airtable and automation expert, and I help online coaches manage really all aspects of their business in Airtable, but specifically, Airtable is so great for tracking your clients and your client results. And so we have this client results cleanup call, this live call to chat with new friends, old friends, clients to really just see what they're doing, how they're tracking their results in their offer, and how we can clean that up and just get even more tracking and more results for your clients and for you to use in marketing. So our next, not next victim, but our next guest is Kate. Kate, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and also introduce the offer that we're going to be auditing today?
Yeah, I'm Kate with Your Kate Brand Strategy. I have been an entrepreneur for 13 years now, and I started as a photographer and pivoted into website so that they could sell their services without having to be like constantly hustling on social media. It was to create a more sustainable marketing system for them with a website. My offer is called Brand Base Camp. It is a 9-week program that starts with figuring out the strategy and the copy for your website, then building the site, and then finally the SEO, the showing up portion of things. So you get from that like really base level of your business and get deep into your marketing so that when you walk away from it, you have that like home on the internet, your base camp for your brand.
Love it. Amazing. So it's a 9-week program, and the goal is to like have a website.
Yes.
Great.
But not just any website. Like I think
Not just
that's
any
where I
website.
get like stuck is the because it's copy strategy, all of it built in with designing the website.
Beautiful. And I know you in your form before this mentioned that you want to track how quickly people are completing websites, like actually the completing of the websites, but then there's another aspect which it's like how many inquiries that they're getting from that website. Talk to me about what you want to be tracking specifically for your people once the website is built.
Well, and I think that's a little bit kind of hard to pin down. So that's where I'm
Cool.
stuck because I help photographers, I help realtors, I help bookkeepers. Like there's such a wide variety of service providers that I help. So it's not like, well, you booked a session from your website. So yay. Like there's just everyone has different goals and results from that. And I also feel like everyone has a different like what success is. So even in photography, like one photographer wants every week to have one session and one photographer wants every day to have a session. So it's going to kind of like vary. And that's where I kind of struggle with figuring out what to track.
Yeah, so let's brainstorm and talk about that because we'll talk about like how Airtable helps you in a moment. I know you've already been starting to work inside of Airtable, but understanding what we want to track, because the first part is website built. Like that's going to be an easy one. You're going to have two trackers essentially. So your first tracker is like, do you have like you did the website, yay, and we want to know basic like how long did it take you to set up, and then that's when Airtable is really going to help you be able to see, because something, I'm going to pull up your sales page now.
Yeah.
And we'll do a quick audit of that, which is beautiful. I ran a summer camp for adults for a living for a long time. So I love the summer camp branding. Beautiful. All of this looks great. But the thing that I am missing here, this is great. It says like past campers say like, Kate is the bomb. I joined this, like these things were a game changer. But what I want to see on your sales page is like the average camper like builds their website in a weekend, and like then the average camper had 10 inquiries to their site and now they get 50 in a month, and like really getting some of those numbers.
Right.
That's what I want to see. And so I can tell like there's just like there's room for us to track. So when you are looking at your sales page, what are some of those metrics that feel exciting for you? Like what, like if you close your eyes and be like, wow, all of these people are completing the program promise, what would be some of the results that you'd want to see on the site?
So like that quantitative, like the numbers data, I think it would be like how fast they get it done. And yeah, like I like the idea of how many inquiries they're getting. Again, I just feel like it's kind of the other part of it is that it's like takes so long for all of it to work once it's done.
Yeah.
So, like, putting that part in, like, following up with people, I guess, post website launch at a certain
Hmm.
frame, is important. And then, like, qualitative, I feel like the confidence that they have in their business, um, how they feel about their other marketing efforts, like, because I do see them
Yeah.
go from, like, their Instagram looks like a hodgepodge mix of like throwing spaghetti at the wall to like all of a sudden they're really clear on these are the things that I talk about and everything's cohesive and pretty and branded. So that part of it I think is helpful.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
That makes total sense. So you mentioned that everybody has different goals when it comes to like what success looks like or what like maybe being booked out looks like. But does everybody like I'm curious if we can like narrow it down to saying like the metric that we're focusing on after your website launches is like inquiries that you're getting from the site.
I wonder
Is
if
that
it's
relevant
like
across the board?
maybe more like percent of inquiries coming from your website versus other platforms.
Okay. Like, because is there contact form? Like, would that be, is that only coming from the website?
Well, like they will have a contact form, but like some of them have CRMs set up and
Hmm.
other metrics and stuff like that. So I think that a lot well, and yeah, that's a tricky one because like the other part of it is some people are being found through Instagram and then they go to the website and that seals the deal. You know what I mean? Like,
That's why I'm like, not to inflate your numbers or your ego, but like if they have a bad website, like if they even if they find them on Instagram and they go to the website and they can't tell how to contact them or how to get a hold of them, like the website isn't working. And even if they find
right,
them on Instagram, they go to the website and they fill out the contact form that's inherently on the website. That to me counts as an inquiry that like is because of their website.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And that would be easier to because I'm just thinking about I would love for your so here's what I've already mapped out for you. Let me know your
Okay.
thoughts on this. Is that what I want is we'll look at your onboarding form in a second, but of course they'll fill out the onboarding form and get the starting point data. And then they're going to build the website. How long does it typically take for them to build out the website?
So I have an option on the onboarding form now where they can choose 4 weeks as the fast track or nine
Okay.
weeks is the full program length.
Okay, perfect. So in 4 to 9 weeks, people will fill out a form that is, yay, you have done, like you've completed your website. I want to make sure that is the first result that we're tracking. Then something that I really like to do that incentivizes them to even tell you that they filled out the website is then they get access to like another level of the program that is like basically I'm going to call it for lack of a better term right now like the inquiries club. Like that's where it's like okay, now your website is built. Now let's get you booked out. Like let's get these inquiries going and let's start tracking your inquiries. And that is something you can do in Airtable once a month. Say, hey, fill out the tracker. Like how many inquiries did you get last month? How many sales did you bring in? And like how confident are you feeling about your website and your marketing? Like just asking those three questions are
Okay.
going to get you insane data about like okay, and then of course Airtable is able to track all of the inquiries that they've ever booked over time, so we can say month one you had, and that your onboarding form you said you had 10 inquiries, this month you had 40, that's an X amount increase. Like then if you have like if you get 100 inquiries on your site or what like whatever the increase, like there's so many more like gamification things that we can pull, but
Okay.
specifically being like step one is get the website done. That's what we
Yeah.
call a milestone tracker. And then
Okay.
the other one is more like rolling results, so that's like tell us the number of inquiries that you've gotten, like like what's that, and then we're keeping track of those totals for you. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
the do you have a second tier of the program? Like, do you have it doesn't even need to ever be like it doesn't need to be something huge, but like maybe a different like a lesson that they unlock after they complete the web like after they complete actually completing the website, which is like the first part of the program promise.
Yeah, I in the process of building a part that's like blogging, like tips for blogging, how to blog and
Cool.
grow that part of it too.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'd say like that's great. And then even like how your website, I think you're saying like, okay, if they go from Instagram, like how do you like do you like, I don't want them to do inquiries. Like, their inquiries should all go through one contact form instead of like
Right.
feeling growing IG DMs. It's just like all roads lead to your contact form. Like, that is
Yeah.
the path for your inquiries, and maybe even like coaching them on and creating resources on like why that's important, so that that metric is just really easy for them to
Okay.
track.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, let me share my screen now just so we have now your we kind of have the idea of what we want to track. So let's look at your onboarding form, because that's where your onboarding form is the first part of your client results tracking. So many times, if people have not been in my world before, they will ask questions that are just like, what does success look like for you in the program? And like, do you want me to send you a shirt or something? And like, there's not actual like data, but there's so much, like getting those, like their starting points is so incredible. I see you've already started building the form in Airtable. Airtable is great for form building. So definitely, if you have an onboarding form that's in a Google form, get out of that now. Use Airtable. It's the best. Okay, so we've got welcome to Brand Basecamp, name, email. Why did you decide to join? That's fine. Industry, that's okay. So I like questions like this for industry, because oftentimes what happens in your marketing, like people will slide into your GMs and be like, but I'm a real estate agent. Is the program
Yeah.
going to work for me? And you can refer back to your data and say, actually, 25% of our people are real estate agents, and they get their sites built and they do the inquiries. So I like this option. Depending on, it would just be easier for like data dashboards in the future if you wanted this to be a drop down with an other field. So like real estate, photography, like what are some of the main ones? That just is going to be easier for your metrics later. But if you want
Yeah.
to keep this open because it really is so unique, then that's okay.
Within other field, do you just like have that set as a conditional, like,
Exactly.
and then it pops up what the other would be? Okay.
Yep. So it says other, and then you set an option that says like only show this other industry if it's the selection is
Got
other.
it.
So the more of those that you can have, just like the more your dashboards will, it's easier to like actually
Yeah.
make charts and things.
Yeah.
How long have you been in this business? You have these options. It's a brand new business. Okay, cool. Yep. Do you currently have a website? Yep. Okay, look at you with your conditional fields. Okay, so yes, your current website. Beautiful. How do you feel about your current branding? Great. So I want to make sure these questions, these are good questions to have. I want to make sure that you finished your website. Yay, that form has these exact questions. So make
Okay.
sure they have those questions and those ratings. So then you can see in Airtable, they started here and they're ending here. So you can see
Okay.
those increases. So that's something else. A lot of people, they'll ask questions like this, but they never follow up with that exact verbiage. So it's really hard to actually see the progress.
Yeah.
What's your current site built on? That's great. Fantastic. Great questions. Yep. Good. Cool. So the only thing that I would add to this is to capture how many inquiries that they're getting in their contact form on their website per month. So you can say
Okay.
like, what's the average over the last one of the easier things is like, what's the average over the last 3 months? So literally like total the ones that you've got and divide them by 3, and that just gives
Okay.
you a good starting point average.
If
I
they're
would add that.
sorry, if like some of them are coming to me with this is a brand new business, or they're just getting started and they don't even have a website yet. So
I
do you
would have
think
them
I
put 0.
should just let them put 0? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. Because that's, we want to be like, they started with a website, no website, getting 0 inquiries, and now they have a website and have 10 inquiries. Like that number is still important for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. But other than that, this looks solid. Just something like aesthetically within Airtable, you can make these into groups and give them a little more like visual
Okay.
separation.
Yeah.
So you can say like rating. Let me pull up Airtable really quick just so I can show that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just in case there's a jump scare or something. Forms. Ah, beautiful. Okay, cool. So share. Great. So this is an example of the form that Kate built. This is like the example of what it looks like on the back end. So each one of these it's called a group. So you can add like offer, and then you can add a little description. So like rate what feels good or whatever. That's the only other, like, that's just like totally an aesthetic option, just to give some like
Cool.
breaking
Well,
breaking
and
the form
yeah,
up a
and
little
you
bit.
can set colors to them too. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's annoying because it's just gray. It's like gray
Oh,
or not gray, but
lame.
not so it's not as exciting. But
Yeah.
interfaces are new, forms on interfaces are new, so they're getting there. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so that's what I want you to do there. Then you'll have another form. Let me go into let's build a tester. Cool. So this is just the back end of an Airtable hub. So then you'll have one that I'm going to start from scratch. It's going to be like website completed. So it's going to be its own separate form table. You'll have the form builder, and I want you to bring in your rating questions. I want you to bring in what is the date that you completed the website. So because that's not always the same date that they submitted the form, so that's just
Okay.
helpful for us to know. And then let me do this. So I'm going to add a date submitted. And I'm going to do a couple ratings. I'm going to give you a rating one. Let's see, rating. Because I just want to show you and the people watching what this can look like. So inside of Airtable, and I want to make sure, I think you have this because I think you've been in my world enough to know some of the best practices, but you have what's called a primary student record. So you have this record that has all of the forms that person has ever filled out connected to that student. Do you have that?
I don't think I have it all set up right.
Cool.
So
Great. Yep. So I'll
yeah.
give you the overview. So this student record table, and for you and for anybody watching, this is what we set up in my group program, Systems Over Stress. So like this, all of the client management tracking systems are easy to set up, given our templates and everything, but I'll just give you the bare minimum. So we have like every time somebody joins the program, we have their first name, their last name, their email, and their start date, right? So that's coming in. And then everything they do connected to the program is linked to the primary student record. That's why spreadsheets are trash. That's why Airtable is better, because there's not these like siloed spreadsheets of data about your clients. It's all connected. So you could open up test person 5 and see here's their onboarding form. So you see like here's a single select example. I'm going to call this rating 1 starting point. And let me add into my inquiries really quick. Let me in my onboarding form, I'm going to say that starting inquiries number. Test person 5 gives 10 inquiries a month. So now we've got the onboarding form, and we can look up specific data points from the onboarding form. So we can look up their initial starting inquiries, and we can also look up their rating for their starting point. So now we have that here. So you'll see there's a 10 starting inquiries, and then they get a 2 out of 5 on the ratings. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So we've got that. And then we have their start date. So now we have this website completed, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to fill out the form, but I'm filling it out on the back end. Every time you fill out an Airtable form, all the data goes inside of Airtable, so it's really easy to manage. We've got test person 5. They now are at a 5-star rating, and they submitted their website. They finished it on August 15th. So now you have all that data in this table, but we go back to our primary student record. We've got our onboarding form details, and then we've got our website completed form details. And so that one is right here. And what I want to do is I want to look up the date that they submitted their website. So they finished their website on 8/15, and we know that they joined on June 1st. We can add a formula field that says days it took to complete website, right? And then it's just a little field, date, time difference. date submitted. And start date. So it took test person 5 75 days to build their website.
Cool.
And what's going to be cool about this is then you get to start to pull averages if
Okay.
there's multiple people. So I think I'm just going to bring this one over here, and let's say this person joined. This one took 102 days.
Okay.
And so you could start to see the average. It takes the average person 89 days.
Okay.
So that's why Airtable rules. Because
Yeah.
it's like any question you have about the program, you can answer now because all the data is connected. You could
Right.
even filter this down to see, I only want to see real estate agents. Real estate agents finish their website in an average of these amount of days. So
Very
that's
cool.
kind of how you get to pull some of those numbers automatically. And that's just, you
Yeah.
get to pop into your Airtable and see those whenever you want as people are filling out the data, because you don't have to like export a spreadsheet, run a report that's going to be out of date by the next time somebody fills out something. Like all
Right.
of that stuff is just automatically here. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
One other question, like if I wanted to track things like in between, so like how long did it take them to finish their copy, or how long did it take them to do like each step?
Yep.
How would you incentivize people to fill out some kind of a tracker with that?
Yeah, so those are more like milestone tasks, if you will, and I
Okay.
don't, those are less to me they're secondary to like the major promise at hand.
Okay.
But I would have you can have a form, and this is actually what's nice. If the best way to get people to fill those out is to have a form that you embed at the end of that lesson. So it's like, here's your copywriting module, and they fill out the form, and it's like, drop the link to your copy here and we'll review it for you, or like having some like review back and forth. Some people will say, yep, I filled it out, like, yes, I did it, yes, I'm on the track, no, nothing, like everything made sense. Like some people will fill it out just like from the goodness of their heart because they're like a good student.
Yeah.
But the more you bring in like feedback reviews or something like that, then that's what's going to really incentivize people to fill that out.
Cool.
So that depends. I would start with the website one first, and then once you're like, okay, I can bring in more of these milestones, then you can bring those milestones in. And I like to when you have course completion milestones, I just do those all in one form just to make it easy, so you don't have a bunch of different tables. So it's like, what module are you submitting for? Creative copywriting, like
Okay.
impactful images or something like that, and be like,
Yeah.
what date did you complete it? Do you have questions? Just so all of that data is in one spot.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Cool. And then, okay, great. So that's the first one. So you'll have those tweaks to your onboarding form, and you'll have the website completion form. And now I can just show you what it would look like to build the like inquiries club form that you would fill out each month. That sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's call it inquiries. This person 5. So I would recommend that these people fill out this form every month. So I would say month you're submitting for number of inquiries this month. What did you, and there was something about like, I would say maybe do like a confidence, like, what was one of the questions that like one of the more qualitative questions?
Is like, how do you feel
website?
about your marketing overall, or something like that? Like,
I would give them a long text field and one that's like a drop down, because I want that, because the drop down is like great, bad, good, like whatever.
Okay.
Obviously you'll adjust those. Because what we want is this is important to know, just so you can get kind of a vibe check, but there's going to be so much great like juicy like qualitative details when they can actually like submit. You're like, oh, everybody's struggling with imposter syndrome in their inquiry report this month. let's do an additional training on that, or just getting some of the words that are actually coming from them can be
Yeah.
helpful. Okay, so let's say that test person 5, and what I like to do on the back end is month. This is an Airtable pro tip, but I liked, so this date time format is month you're submitting for. Cool. So when they fill out the form, you're going to have, a lot of the times people do this like rookie mistake of having a drop down of single selects of all of these different months of August 2024, May, June, July, whatever. I like to give them a date field that says like select the month that you're reporting for. And I say like if it's August, like submit like say August 1 or whatever. It doesn't matter what date they put. But Airtable, you can, on the back end, you can have a formatting that's just bringing in the month and the year of that date. That makes it really helpful. So you, when you want to do filtering, if you say, I want to see all of the reports that are within the last month, you can do that instead of having to like do this drop down that actually isn't a date field. So having the date field is really important. So let's say that Ashley had 20 inquiries. So we've got our inquiries. So if we go back to her primary student record where all of her data lives, again, all forms are connected to her. So we'll look up the number of inquiries this month. So there's 20. And we just want to show the last one that she submitted, for example. Okay. So now her starting inquiries, number of inquiries. Let's say inquiry difference starting and this month. And then it is, you can, depends on if you want to do percentage or what, but it would be like number of inquiries divided by starting. I'm so bad at these types of formulas, but let's see. Hey, 200%. Cool.
Okay.
So, or however you want to do it. And then if you wanted to do total inquiries, you can do that too. So we can say total inquiries since joining.
Okay.
It's called a roll up field, and that's rolling up all of the number of inquiries that they've ever submitted.
So she's got each time that person would submit a new form, where does that go in the data on the back end?
Yep. So it's going to go, here's the form. Let me build it. So the one thing that I noticed that your onboarding form didn't have, which I recommend, especially in a group program, is this like submit, like find your name on the dropdown.
Okay.
Vibe. That's going to automatically connect it to them. So if we say, okay, this is test person 5 in September, they're submitting, they got 50 inquiries. Feeling bad. I am nervous. Publish it and fill it out. Let's see. Is this helpful?
Yes.
Great.
So helpful.
Mm-hmm. Test person 5, submitting for September, 50 inquiries, feeling bad, afraid I can't deliver, whatever, submit. So now if we go back to the data, so you'll see in this, so she's right in the inquiries club view. If we group it by student, you can see all of her individual things that she's ever submitted.
Okay.
You can also see that there is a sum of 70. You could also do the average and say, and she's getting an average of 35 a month.
Okay.
But then if you wanted to do those high level like comparisons and like to the starting data, then you go back to the place where everything is connected, which is the primary student record.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So you'll see this says 70 of total inquiries. It's rolling up all of the ones that she's ever submitted. If you go into the inquiries club, it should match that, which it does. 50 plus 20 is 70.
Cool.
So then you can start to play with those things.
That's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's really cool. And things that you can do. Another like pro tip that I always like to share with people is you can also see, you can look up the month that they're submitting for. I actually like to do submission date. Let me do it this way. So I like to have submitted date. It's a created time field. And if we go to the primary student record, we can look up the last submitted date. So the last time they submitted was 8/16. You can set up automations that say when a record matches a condition, if the person hasn't, like, their last submitted date, submitted date, what is submitted date is number of days, let's say number of days ago, 32 days ago. You can then send them an email straight from Airtable via Gmail
Nice.
that says like, hey, checking in, it's been over a month since you've submitted your inquiries club, like go and fill that out. That makes people fill it out fucking fast. Like
That's
they're
so
like,
funny.
oops, like let me go do it.
Yeah.
And so those types of automated checkpoints, you could get crazy with those in Airtable. Any little piece of data, like they haven't submitted their onboarding form in 7 days, they haven't filled out this form in 32 days, like those types of little reminders, you can automate, you can really automate. And then
Awesome.
You just don't have to worry about it. And like, you know that they're getting checked in on and they feel like there's a high touch point, especially for people who are growing their group programs, or like, I want 100 people in this program, but I don't want people to feel like they're getting left behind or it's too small. Like it's like getting too big and they don't have access to me. Like those types of things really matter. And you just can't do that without Airtable, because you don't want to have an admin person who's like keeping it in their mind, like where everybody is all the time.
Awesome. Yay.
So that's a lot of homework. Making very small tweaks to your onboarding form, setting up that website completion form. And then when you roll that out, I want to talk about some of the best practices for just like announcing this to your students.
Yeah.
I really like to have the website completion milestone, merit badge, whatever you want to call it, because it's camp. Like you can totally brand it.
Yeah.
Tell them what they get when they fill it out. And be like, when you submit your website, a really easy thing to do, and it helps both of you guys, is like you get featured on a wall of our client results. Like we say, like, here's the websites that were built through Brandcamp and here's their websites and you can link them out. Like you, like that really incentivizes people to fill it out, but just giving them a reason. And one of the big reasons is like you get into the inquiry club, which is then we help you like we track and make sure that your website is actually converting. How do you make tweaks if it's not converting? If your inquiries aren't increasing, then maybe there's something like some levers we need to pull since the website's already built. So I would talk about it on every every coaching call, like, hey, have you submitted the website yet? Sometimes people, if they find that their monthly reporting, if that's going a little slow, they'll do like a co-working session where it's like, hey, fill out your inquiry report, or they'll have like an inquiries call. And like the first thing everybody does on the call is fill out the tracker form. So you really want to prioritize people filling these forms out.
Yeah.
Because if they exist but nobody's filling them out, then it's like there's no point in them.
Right.
So really getting creative with how people fill it out. But people will fill it out if you show them. And I also love to show too, like, here's the websites that were submitted over the last month, like shouting out students within the program and being like, don't you want to like we're working towards 1,000 inquiries, like be a part of that growing number for this community. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can really incentivize people and encourage them to fill it out.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, fun.
Quick question on my my sales page, the promise at the top is craft your brand message and launch a website that sells.
Yep.
Do you think that's specific enough, or do I need to add a time frame, or how would you?
Overall, I think it's fine. Craft your brand message, like launch. I think that like launch a website that sells is way more compelling than crafting your brand message.
Yeah.
Like I almost like, I know that's like a part of it, but I think that that's like a step in getting to launching a website that sells and getting clarity. So I think it's fine to keep it. If you want to, I think especially with things that are like build specific, you're building a website, if you can say launch a website that sells in just 4 weeks, like, or what, like launch a website. I think that putting some time frame on there is going to be helpful.
Okay.
But let's see, because tell me about like how how are your inquiries for this offer? Like, are people like, yes, I need this, or has it been quiet? Like, what's kind of in the vibe?
I think it's been a little quiet. I had two like flop launches, and then I had a good launch this last time. So I have students in right now, but just like I just rebranded it um in the like right at the beginning of the summer. It was called Website Launch Accelerator before, which I felt like really minimized what actually you're getting with it.
Hmm.
So with the rebrand, I feel like it is more clear.
I think it is. I would play with, and you do not have to take any of this. I know you are a messaging person, and that's all like that's your zone. But I really think that like I think about Jamar Diggs, who has a YouTube membership, and he was one of my client results cleanups, and his
Yeah.
membership has taken off after it was like low lift marketing. Like it wasn't specific, and it was like launch or revive your channel in 90 days. Like launch or revive your YouTube channel in 90 days. It's like launch a website that's like sells for you in 4 weeks or less, like or like
Okay.
for whatever that is. I would
Yeah.
really rely on that. The crafting your brand message, I think that it's just not as compelling. Like it's not like the main like, oh, give like let me give you my money. It's kind of like, okay, are we going through more like ideal client exercises? Like I don't
Yeah.
want to like I know I have to do that on the inside probably
Yeah.
of it, but what they really want is to launch a website that sells. And I think that um as a cold lead, brand Basecamp to me doesn't it makes it feel like a branding course instead of like what I think you're saying is like your website is your brand Basecamp.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah, you don't need just a website, you need a brand base. I would rely on that in the messaging. And I think that like create creating a website that becomes like your brand based camp in four
Yeah.
weeks. I don't think it needs to be that specific, but that's kind of the direction and the clarity. I think less crafting your brand message and more
Okay.
launching a website that's selling and becoming your brand base camp is going to
Okay.
be clearer.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's always so much easier to do that kind of thing for someone else, isn't it? Like
Oh
to
yeah,
like
I was tweaking my homepage and I was like, this sounds great. And then I was actually thinking, I was like, no one knows what I'm talking about when
Right.
I say this.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so much easier when you're not on the inside of it. And like that's honestly part of this offer is that I can help people see it from the other side.
Yep. Yeah, because it makes a lot of sense once I kind of wrap my head around it of like, oh, she's saying that the website is the brand base camp. But when I first think of brand base camp, I'm like, I don't think it's a website course.
Okay.
And so I think that really making that super, super clear, I think will be helpful.
Cool.
But I mean, when's your next launch?
I am not sure yet.
Cool.
Coming soon.
Fun.
It's the doors are always open, so it's kind of just like promotional periods.
I wanna show you. Maddie was our last week's client
Yeah.
results cleanup, and I for anybody who missed it, this is what you're missing on your sales page, and this is what I want to see for you.
Yeah.
Um, Brand Based Camp has collectively helped business owners bring in 4,700 inquiries or whatever. That's resulted in X amount of sales. The average person builds their site in X amount of days. Like this type of data is really,
Right.
I think it
Would
turns
push it.
mid launches into great launches. Like
Yeah.
just like as you're expanding your audience and just like I think people need this type of data, which your website is great. It's just missing the data tracking. And
Yeah.
it's not because the data is not there. Like you're getting people, like people are building their websites, people are booking inquiries. You just don't know.
Right.
Because how are you tracking that stuff now?
Right now, like I have an offboarding form that's a testimonial and that's it. So I don't really
Yeah,
have any data on like what happens after. So
totally.
keeping that touch point with them and like keeping them engaged, I think, and they've asked, like I've had past students ask, like, we want to keep working with you in some way. So if I can make that results part of it, like an incentive for like how we can continue to
Yeah.
grow together, I think that's a good move.
Fun. Yeah. I love that. I want to hit me up, slide into my DMs when it's all done because I
Yeah.
want to see it and I want to and I'm just it feels so great when you do have this data because when you go into your next launch, you just like there's something different about your energy. It's like, oh, no, this program works. Like there's
Yeah.
just like I'm looking at the data and like it's this works. Like and it
Yeah.
just helps with your messaging and your marketing and everything.
Yeah. Would you go back to the people that have completed like earlier this year and ask them to start tracking inquiries, or would you just
Are
start
they
with the
still in
current?
the program or have you offboarded them completely?
They're offboarded, but like still in
I
contact.
would, if you, I would. There's no
Okay.
harm in doing it. And I would just, again, to give them an incentive, because people have done that to me in the past. And I'm like, that's nice. I have other shit going on. Like,
Right.
me, like, submitting my wins to you is not the highest priority, but it's like,
Yeah.
if you submit this form, Kate will give you a 5-minute Loom video, like respond back with a 5-minute Loom video, like talking about tweaks that you could, like, what is something that like they could give, like you could give them easily in exchange for that.
Yeah.
And let me actually, because I've mentioned that a couple times, let me just show you how, like, and the people, how you would do something like that. So let's say that your past people, they get a like they complete the website, whatever. You, of course, you ask them for the URL. Then we have a status here. I have a status called feedback review. So many people do like Loom video feedbacks, but they're so messy. Loom video URL. See, here's this one. So I'm gonna say this one got a review sent. So you would look at the person's website and you would be like, all right, I just made my Loom video. I'm gonna put this in here. And then you'd click send review. Then you can set up an automation that says when a record matches a condition in website completed, when the status is send review, then say your feedback review is inside. Hi. And then you can bring in that Loom video here. And then I always like to update the record. We call it closing the loop. So you update the record, which is just the record from the step 1. And you say feedback review is review sent. So then all you
Okay.
have to do is like, it feels like a really great value add of like, oh my God, she's about to give me a 5-minute Loom video. But all you have to do is like pop into your base and see like, okay, here's the reviews I need to do. We can filter this little view to say, I only want to see ones where feedback review is not review sent. So like, here's your outstanding people. Then as soon as you click send review, it'll send the email and it'll update to review sent. And then like your cache is cleared or your queue is cleared. So I would, if you have the capacity or anything like that, that's really what's gonna, like, I don't want you to like send it out to people and like there's crickets. Those are just like extra ways to get people to fill it out.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. I'm so excited. I'm
Yay.
got ideas.
Yay, Kate, this was so fun. I'm gonna just for those that are watching the replay, I wanted to show if they wanted to get this type of support. We have a 12-month Airtable support program called Systems Over Stress, and we help coaches create a seamless client experience using Airtable. So inside of our program, you automate systems for your enrollments, client results tracking, resigns, removals, all of that for whether it's a group program, mastermind membership, one-on-one coaching, like all of that's inside the program. You get on-demand Airtable support from me and my team. And we also will do a tech stack review. We'll do your program promise audit. Like, it's all here. So if you're like, this was amazing, how do I get in a hold of Ashley? Join us in this program and we'll see you inside of there. But it's just like this work. If you are a coach, if you have these group coaching programs, like this is really going to be the industry standard. And I'm just so excited, Kate, for you to implement this and roll it out to your people.
Me too. I'm so excited. And I also am going to probably join your results tracker workshop that's coming up too.
Yay!
So.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.